first we're going to talk about how these devastating injuries happen. And the main thing that people do that cause them is when they are...
Okay, but are you taking into account the artistic vision?
I don't know, it almost felt irresponsible to me. It was like too ambiguous.
I feel like you're missing... Okay, well, maybe you're right, but I feel like you're missing the point of the director.
But in the end, you know, the one that really speaks to me or makes me smile in the trilogy is Beverly Hills Chihuahua 3, right? I mean, you gotta get
That was a great film, great film.
Oh my God! What's going on? There's burst backs as far as the eye can see. I'm Dr. Ben Quist.
And I'm fitness expert Jeremiah K. Shit, redo that. And I'm fitness expert Jeremiah Kruger.
And today we're going to talk to you about how to not burst your lower back.
I wish we would have gone over that 5 minutes ago.
So in just a moment, I'm going to show you 4 things you can do every day to help you prevent experiencing one of these awful lower back injuries. But first, I'd like to explain what happens in the process when you injure your back. So first we're going to talk about how these devastating injuries happen. And the main thing that people do that cause them is when they are bending forward to pick things up from the floor, they are not maintaining their spine neutral position as they bend in the lumbar spine, and they're allowing it to flex. And that's where the spine is vulnerable. The reason this happens is because many people have hamstrings that are too tight. We're going to show you this with the orange strap representing Jeremiah's hamstring and the bucket representing his pelvis. Now, Jeremiah, let's have you bend forward like you're picking something up off the ground. Hamstring is stretching, stretching, stretching until it can't stretch anymore. And then the only place Jeremiah can get motion is by then posterior tilting or flexing at the back and the pelvis. And that puts your pelvis and your lower back in this very weak flex position, especially when it's under load, and that's where those injuries occur. So now we're going to do a close-up of what just happened when Jeremiah lost his pelvic posture and came out of spine neutral as he was trying to lift something from the floor. As he gets down there and this spine starts to flex, that lumbar spine has 5 different discs, and you can see them in here. We're going to use this blue balloon to represent one of Jeremiah's discs. As he started to bend forward and get into bad posture, pressure comes onto the front part of the disc, the anterior part. The disc starts to push posteriorly, and as that pressure becomes too much for the disc to manage, it'll either bulge out, hitting a nerve, or even worse, it can pop. All right, so it's really important to remember when you're picking something up from the floor that you really want to maintain spine neutral, lock that lumbar area into a stable position, and create the movement only at the hip joint, keeping that pelvic position and lumbar spine position in a neutral position. But one other thing that can really damage those lumbar discs is if you combine different movement patterns that the lumbar spine can do. So let's first go over the 3 different movement patterns the lumbar spine can do. So number 1 is flexing at the spine and extending at the spine. Number 2 is rotating right-left. And the final movement pattern the lumbar spine does is side bending to your right and side bending to your left. So it is even more dangerous, and let's have you come up to standing for this one, Jeremiah. If you're trying to grab something, sometimes even something light, if you come down and you combine spinal motions, meaning now he's flexing and then he's also rotating to grab his phone off the floor, even with that light object, because that is such an awkward position for the lumbar spine because you're combining motions, you could injure yourself. So when you're coming down to the floor, it's best to try to keep no motion happening in the lumbar spine, but if you can't do that, try not to combine motions, especially if you're under load. Now we're going to show you the 3 moves you can do to make your lower back more resilient and not get any of those bad injuries.
So exercise number 1 is really good to practice your hinging movement pattern. I'm going to get into a shoulder width stance with a slight bend in my knees. Reminder that you want to maintain spine neutral, which is a position in your pelvis of a slight anterior tilt. My goal now is to get my butt as far behind my heels as I can with the most intense hamstring stretch I can while maintaining my lumbar spine position. The key is to only go down as far as you can while you're able to maintain that lumbar position. At any point, if you start to lose it, you've gone too far, I'd suggest standing back up and stop just shy of that, because right there is the peak stretch for your hamstrings. We're going to maintain that. At some point, if you want to start to increase that stretch in your hamstrings, I'll start to straighten my knees and push my knees backwards, but again, maintain lumbar or pelvic position.
So after you practice proper lifting mechanics with Jeremiah's standing hamstring stretch, we're going to do a more intensive hamstring stretch to floss that hamstring in a supine position. So we're going to have you grab a flat band. Lighter band is usually better. Wrap the band around your foot once, a second time, and then lay back flat. Take your other leg, the one that doesn't have the band on it, ground it into the floor, tighten your hamstring, flex your foot towards your body, grab the straps, pull your elbows into the floor, Create a spine neutral position at your lower back, pull your shoulder blades back and down, and then press up into your heel, kicking your foot towards the back wall. Hold for 3 seconds with a nice strong hamstring stretch. Bend, and then press back. Hold for 3 seconds, nice strong hamstring stretch. Repeat for 10 reps on one side, and then repeat for 10 reps on the other side. Okay, now that we've given ourselves some more available motion to move by loosening up those hamstrings, the second thing that I like to do is to do some passive extension of the lumbar spine. So just like passive flexion or flexion under load in the lumbar spine can injure the discs, sometimes extending can create a position where those discs float forward a little bit. It makes them more resilient to injury. So the move I like for this is a prone cobra. What you're gonna do is lay down flat, take your hands right at shoulder height, push down through your feet, some pressure into your toes in the floor, your quads are engaged, shoulder blades are pulled back and down. From there, you're gonna press up only as high as you can go without your pelvis coming off the floor. Keep your lower back nice and relaxed. Take a nice deep breath in and blow it out, and then come right back down, and then press up and repeat. Repeat that move for 10 reps. One interesting fun fact is, did you know you're usually about a ½ inch taller right when you wake up in the morning? The reason is that is because your discs take on a lot of fluid throughout the night, and any of these different movements that we're showing you, you don't want to hop right out of bed and do them. It usually takes about 30 minutes for the discs to kind of compress down a little bit, so always wait a little bit before you put any strong pressures through your lumbar spine in the morning.
Exercise number 4 is the lying handcuff. This exercise is good for strengthening your lumbar spine, and especially in combination with the exercise we just did, the prone press up, it's really good to emphasize your ability to get to that range of motion that we just gained. So I'm going to lay down on the ground with my arms and legs fully extended. Now my goal is to raise my chest and my knees up off the floor as I retract my shoulders, depress my shoulders, rotate my palms up, and bring them together behind my back. An added bonus, if you could lift your hands a little bit up off your butt as you raise your knees a little higher, lower back down and bring them back down in front. I'll repeat this 10 times, moving very slowly throughout the motion.
Okay, there we go. Now you should have a better understanding of what causes these devastating injuries at the lower back and a couple things you can do every day to prevent them.
Tune into our next video if you want to learn how to bulletproof your back so that you never hurt it again.
And guys, thanks for walking. Guys,
Thanks for walking.
okay. And guys, thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Hit the notifications button so you can see our future videos like the bulletproof your low back. And comment below, right? Comment below. Give us some comments. No one's commenting. How about you comment on what you'd like to see?
Talk more. We got
Could you
good
talk
thumbs.
more? All right. Thanks,
guys.
Bye.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.